What's going on, Fab Lab fam? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be muffing up some welds. We are going to be just diving into all the details on how to fix TIG root weld defects. Now, whether you're practicing for a weld test, specifically like a 6G TIG root weld test, and maybe you're practicing for it and you're just having all these issues coming up like cold wire or suck back, excessive reinforcement, lack of fusion, fish eyes, like any of these weld defects that come up. If you're really struggling with a certain one and you're just not quite sure why, this video is for you. And if you're actually taking a test, maybe you're actually in the moment taking a test and you make a mistake, you slip up and maybe you shove a little bit too much wire, you get some cold wire, or maybe you're welding along, you think you're going good, but then you look inside and it's all like sucked back and you're kind of freaking out, maybe crapping bricks. And so I know what it's like in that situation too. So in either situation, you came to the right place, because in today's video, we're going to be going over how to fix those mistakes if it happens without completely cutting apart your whole weld and starting over, and also how to prevent those mistakes from happening while you're welding if you're practicing on your own time. So with all that being said, let's get right into it here.
Alrighty, so for the rest of the video here, I'm going to be absolutely wrecking every single part of this pipe, and then I'm going to show you how I go about fixing it to make it look like it never even happened. Alrighty, so the first defect I'll show you how to fix here is an improper transition from the tack to the start of our root, also known as a lack of fusion. So your first instinct might be to just heat it up really good, because you might be thinking, all right, this is going to really fuse that spot together and we should be good, right? Well, you are technically right, and it'll fuse together good, but since we are on the bottom of the pipe here, gravity is going to absolutely crush our dreams right now and crush our root too, by making it fall flat and get sucked back. So as you can see, gravity and heat here is a huge factor when trying to repair your root. And if not done properly, it can make a bad situation worse. Now, in situations like this where you have a lump that you want to get rid of and you control your heat properly, gravity will actually be your best friend here, and it'll help you actually push that root back into where it needs to be, and it'll fix that lump there. So that's an ideal situation, but in our situation here, we got this. It's a flat root or suck back here, and it's just, we need to get that reinforcement in there. And what makes it harder too in this situation is that it's on the bottom of the pipe too, so we're directly fighting gravity now. So how do we fix this? The first repair technique I'm going to show you here is what I call grind it thin, then push it in. So the way I go about doing that is actually very strategic here, because when I'm grinding it thin, I actually want to reshape my bevels as I'm grinding. So it looks something like this. As I'm grinding the root with a cutoff wheel here, I'm pivoting the grinder side to side as I'm grinding forward and back. And the reason I do that is because when you go to re-weld this then and repair this, you'll have some meat left over on the bevel, and your puddle will be a lot easier to control as you re-weld this section.
So before we actually start welding on our pipe here and actually start making our repair, we first got to make sure our amps are pretty close to dialed in for our situation. Now, this is kind of where it gets tricky, because everybody's situation is going to be different. They're going to be welding different pipes together, like different sizes, thicknesses. Maybe the gap size might be different than others, and then your wire size you choose, depending on like what size wire you're using, that's going to play a role. And your experience level and what machine you're actually using, like that could also not be the same as what I'm using here. So there's just so many variables with this, and it's just one of those things where you kind of have to figure this out on your own. It's just going to take a lot of trial and error to figure this out and getting that sweet spot amp setting for your situation. Now, an ideal situation would be if you could use like a foot pedal, then you can just add on as much amps as you need, flow that wire in there, and just make your repair. But in a lot of cases, you don't have that luxury. So generally what you want to shoot for when you're dialing in your amps for your situation is that you want your amps hot enough to where when you're feeding that wire into your puddle, you want it to be easily feeding and easily flowing into that puddle when you're making your repair, because you want to be able to push that wire that you're introducing into the inside of the pipe. And if it's not hot enough, it's not going to melt through that and push into the inside of the pipe. So and it's also, if you're too cold with that, like if it's like not easily flowing into the pipe and it kind of gets like stuck, maybe that could actually potentially introduce cold wire into your root, and then that's like another thing you got to fix then eventually. So that's just it could cause issues if you don't have your amps set just right. So if you're running too hot with your amps, when you're feeding that wire into your puddle, it's going to flow in there good and it's going to really melt in there good, but that whole puddle itself is just too liquid and it's not solidifying enough on the inside of the pipe, and gravity is just affecting that puddle and it's just pushing it right back down to where it was. And as Motley Crue would say, you're in the same old situation. You're just right back where you started. You're gonna have that flat root or suck back. Yeah, worse than that could be just pushing that right back down, and yeah, you're just gonna be fighting it the entire time. So that's just something to avoid by going too hot with your amps. But yeah, like I said, on the opposite side of that, if you're running too cold, then yeah, you're not going to be able to remelt that whole area properly. You're going to get maybe some cold wire or lack of fusion. It's just not going to re-weld nice, and so you're just going to kind of fighting that too. So there is a sweet spot there for you to find with your amps. And a thing is too, you don't have to get it like absolutely dialed. Like, you do have some control on the fly. If you don't have a foot pedal and you're just doing it, scratch start, you do have some control with your travel speed and the amount of wire you feed into that puddle. So like, the faster you travel and the more wire you feed into that puddle, the cooler that puddle is going to stay, because you're adding in all this extra wire cooling down that puddle. And if you're traveling faster, you're not building up heat in one spot for too long, and you're kind of spreading out your heat more. It's not building up too much and just overheating your puddle. So that's just something you can kind of do on the fly too, adjusting your travel speed and your wire feed if you're not quite dialed with your amps. And like I said before, this is something that you got to figure out by trial and error on your own time, when you're practicing on your own time. So when you can experiment with different things. You can experiment hotter, colder. You can see what works, what doesn't work for your situation. And then you can just, play around with it, experiment with that. And then when you actually get to an actual real world situation where a mistake happens and you need to fix it, then you're not just scrambling on the fly trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and just panicking in the moment, because you can kind of just draw from that experience that you had from before. So that's just something I really highly recommend that you guys do. Just practice this on your own time and just really figure out what works and what doesn't.
Alrighty, so once we have this section all nicely grinded thin, then we're going to start re-welding it here. So once I arc up on the start of the section here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait and then hang out a bit till that puddle starts to swirl and it starts to expand. And right when that starts to happen, then I know the inside is being remelted and consumed. So that is when I want to start pushing and feeding wire into the puddle to push that reinforcement back into the inside of the pipe. So depending on what the puddle's doing here and how thin the metal is in that area, I might feed the wire intermittently like I'm doing here and just let that existing metal remelt before I feed wire. But I don't want to be starving that puddle of wire, and I really need to be making sure I'm pushing that wire into the puddle every time I'm feeding it here. So this is where you really need to be paying attention on what's happening in the moment and what the puddle is doing. But overall, the biggest goal here when you're doing this, like the technique of the name says, you really need to push that wire when you're feeding it into the puddle, because that is how you build up that reinforcement back into the inside of the pipe here. So let's keep welding out this pipe here. In this next quarter, we're going to crank up the heat a bit, and we are going to completely botch this whole quarter of this pipe. And then we'll go back and I'll show you how we fix it. So one thing I wanted to mention real quick, I did on purpose here, is that you can see right here, I dip that tungsten and break it off, and then I just keep right on going. That is definitely something you don't want to leave if you're taking a test or if this thing is getting shot for x-ray or anything. Like, that is definitely something you want to grind out, resharpen your tungsten, and just keep going if that happens. So you just want to make sure you do that if that ever happens. So as you can see here, I'm running way too hot here. I'm just absolutely dumping wire and pushing way too much reinforcement into that root here. I'm probably pushing maybe like a 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch of reinforcement on the inside of the pipe. And this is looking absolutely ratchet. And that tying on that top tack was just pitiful. So now we're going to go back and see how we can fix this thing now. Alrighty, so basically I'm going to do the exact same thing like I did before with grinding it out here. And I'm going to be pivoting my grinder like this back and forth to reshape my bevels again. As you can see here, this is what I'm left with. And in some areas here, you can see I went a little bit too far and I grinded through. And this one spot on the top here, I was like 3/8 of reinforcement that I was trying to see if I could grind it thin and then suck it back. But as you can see here, once I arc up on this, it's just too far into the pipe and it's too thin. And it just melts here and just falls out. So I'm just going to completely start over on this section of the pipe. So as you can see, I'm using the arc here to melt the grinding burrs and thin spots that are stuck on the inside of the pipe. And the goal here is to melt back everything that's left hanging into the pipe here back onto the bevels like you can see here. Then you can go back and clean that up with the grinder and start fresh over again. Alrighty, so now I'm starting to close this thing up, coming off the bottom now, and I'm using the back feeding technique as I'm doing this so I can really see and watch that puddle touch both bevel edges and making sure I'm getting good fusion into that and making sure I'm really putting that reinforcement in there because that's what I was lacking last time. So if you're unfamiliar with this technique, I made a whole video going over exactly how to do it, so if you haven't seen that, make sure to check that out. So as I'm coming to the top of the pipe here, the gap is really starting to get big now because this is the section of the pipe where I had that massive piece of weld that I had to cut out. So that's why I recommend beginners not use a bigger gap when learning open root welding like this, because if you have to do a full out repair like this and completely cut the whole weld out, you're going to be left with an even bigger gap to try and re-weld. So when I'm filling a bigger gap like this, in some areas here, I'll be following the arc with the wire as I travel back and forth across the gap to keep the puddle from falling into the pipe and just keep it controlled. And also, since I'm running colder here, I'm pausing for a few seconds when I get to the bevels to make sure I'm getting complete fusion here and this weld is completely fusing to those bevel edges. So I'm just going to continue that all the way up to the top tack, and once I reach that tack, I'm just going to completely consume that tack and just dab all the way through it. That way it fully remelts and blends into my root, and it looks like it wasn't even there. Alrighty, so let's muff up this other half of the pipe now. I'm just going to go crazy here and just stuff a bunch of cold wire in this quarter of the pipe. Now, what causes cold wire here is usually a combination of maybe long arc length, or not running hot enough and pushing that wire too hard into the inside of the pipe. And that's usually a result of not having a steady feeding hand. Now, as you can see, I have two TIG fingers that I'm using here to prop my feeding hand and my torch hand so I can be as steady as I possibly can. Now, obviously, I'm doing this on purpose, but this is a huge thing that beginners overlook. You always want to make sure that both of your hands are as steady as possible so you can be as precise as you possibly can during this whole process. Alrighty, so that looks absolutely horrible. Let's try to fix it here. I'm just going to do the same technique I've been doing before, and that's just grinding it thin and then pushing it in. So once we have it grinded thin, I'll re-weld it just like we did the other side. So when I arc up, I'm going to wait for that puddle to start swirling and swell up a bit, and that's when I know the inside is getting melted, and that's when I start pushing my wire into the puddle intermittently here to keep that reinforcement on the inside of the pipe controlled. Now, as we get to this section of the pipe, you can see the reinforcement on the inside is getting a little bit more heavy now, and it's getting pretty built up. And that is because I'm feeding a lot more wire now, and that's actually pushing more reinforcement to the inside of the pipe. So that's why it's getting a little bit more built up there. And that's just to show that there is a sweet spot here when you're pushing in your wire as you're doing your repair. So you can easily overdo it here. So you just got to be careful. So for the last core of this pipe, I definitely overdid it here and I pushed way too much wire into the puddle, and that left a little bit of a nugget there that we got to fix now. So now I can show you how to fix this little guy here too. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to mark on the outside of the pipe where that spot is on the inside of the pipe that I want to fix, that heavy spot. And then I'll grab my grinder and we'll grind this thing out thin just like we've been doing before, and I'll be pivoting the grinder back and forth as we're grinding here. But in this situation, I kind of want to create a ramp, and the part of the root that I want to fix, I want that part to be the thinnest part that I grind out here, and everything else just kind of tapers down to that. What that's going to do, it's going to help me melt that spot that I want to fix and then help me blend that to the rest of the root here, as you can see. You can see right here, it starts to melt, and then my puddle will actually start to swell and swirl a bit, so then I know that inside is getting consumed. And then you can see my torch, I move back into the root to kind of pull that material that I pulled out of the root and come back with it to kind of catch it like a football. And then once I feel like it's sucked out and blended pretty good there, I'll actually weld back through this section while dabbing wire to make that section of the root that I just fixed blended together and make it look uniform to the rest of the root. So once I travel past that part that I fixed here a good bit, maybe an inch or two, then I'll taper off slowly onto the bevel here, because if I don't do this and I just break off really quick here, 9 times out of 10, it'll leave a fisheye or a pinhole like this, and this will bust you every time on X-ray. If you do get a pinhole, not a big deal, just use the grind it thin, push it in method, and when you grind it, taper it down to that spot like we've been doing before. And then make sure to completely fuse that area and fill it back in with weld, and this time taper off slowly onto the bevel, and then you should be good.
Alrighty, so the last point I want to get across to you guys here at the end of the video is that if you forget everything I mentioned in this entire video and just remember one thing, remember this. Learning how to fix your mistakes on your TIG roots or just in your welds in general is just as important as learning how to do it properly the first time. I could go on and on how to prevent your mistakes and how to prevent these things from happening. At the end of the day, when you're learning how to weld, these things happen no matter what. It's just all part of the learning process. These things just come up. These things happen. And so when you learn how to fix your mistakes when they happen, it just makes you a way better welder and just, it takes all the pressure off of you trying to be perfect right out of the gate. It just gives you way more confidence as you progress in your skills. And I always see these posts of people being like, oh, to be a welder, you gotta be perfect every single day. You gotta show up and always be laying dimes or just always be putting those slick welds in there. Wherever you're welding, it's always gotta be slick, always gotta be perfect. And the reality of it is that is not reality. That is not what happens. When in the real world, people make mistakes. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry, it doesn't matter how long you've been welding for, everybody makes mistakes. And it's just one of the things that happen. Yes, you might make less of them as you get more experience, but the thing is, you never completely are just slick welder that never makes any mistakes. That is just not reality. That kind of reminds me of a time when I was first getting into the trade. I was talking to an old timer that I was working with at the time, and I remember saying, he said to me, he said, the biggest difference between you and me is that I can hide my mistakes a lot better than you can. So at the time, I didn't really understand it a whole lot. I'm just kind of like, all right, cool. I don't know. I was just kind of, just getting into it. I didn't really understand it a whole lot, but the more you're exposed to different welding situations and the longer you're in the trade, the more experience you get, you kind of understand that better. And you understand that, all right, I'm never actually going to get to a point where like you're just completely flawless and perfect. Like you're going to have situations where things are just going to happen. It's just like you're going to make a mistake here and there. And the more that happens, the better you get at fixing your mistakes, and you get at making sure like it looks like it never even happened. And so that just comes with time, and it just comes with experience, and that's just reality of it. And it kind of gets to you to a point where it almost makes you look like your work is flawless and perfect because you're just able to hide it so well. But in reality, nobody's perfect. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the trade. I don't care who you are. And it's just one of the realities of the industry. So when you know how to do this and know how to fix your mistakes when they come up, it just takes that pressure off of you of trying to be perfect all the time and trying to get to an unreachable standard. This is absolutely huge when you go into situations like taking a welding test, because now instead of putting all this pressure on yourself, being like, all right, I gotta be perfect, I gotta nail this, I gotta make sure I pass the test, and you're putting all this pressure on yourself trying to be perfect right out of the gate. And so instead of doing that, if you know how to fix your mistakes, you automatically, it just takes all that pressure off of you, because now you can kind of go into a little more confidence now, because you're like, all right, I'm just going to do the best I can. And if something comes up, I know how to fix it. And also on that note, if you have a weld test coming up that you're preparing for, I made a complete free training video going over how I recommend preparing for a weld test. So if you pair that training video with knowing how to fix your mistakes, you will just be so much more confident on test day, be way less nervous, and you can just go into it with confidence and give you the best shot at passing your test. So if you're interested in that training video, just hit up that link in the description below and just enter your email, and then I'll send it right over to you. So with all that being said, if you have any questions on any part of this video, or if you're just kind of still unsure about maybe some techniques I use to fix certain weld defects, or if there's a certain weld defect that's just kind of really tripping you up, just let me know down in the comments, or just email me at luke@lukesfablab.com. Yeah, don't be afraid to reach out, guys. I'm here for you. Also, make sure to stay tuned for my next video coming out. We'll be going over how to weld bad fit-ups. Big gaps, tight gaps, everything in between. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And so with all that being said, guys, hope you liked the video, and we'll see you in the next one.